Hey, hello, and welcome back to Soul Method Marketing. And now you are on to course 7, and it's all about podcasting. Now, normally I jump on here and say, oh my God, I'm so excited about this, I love it. Well, that is not true for podcasting. I didn't used to love it. It used to be something that really kind of triggered me, and I don't know what it was about it. I don't know whether it was that I didn't feel good enough to be on radio, right? Like if you think about podcasting is kind of today's radio, right? I worried about my voice being very squeaky, and you would think that I would be more worried about showing up, in person and people seeing me, but I've never had a problem with it. I think because I've always been in professions that required it, right? But however, people listening to my voice was something that really triggered me. So whether or not that is a trigger for you, just be aware that podcasting can bring up some triggers for you. And so I'm going to take you through a process where we set it all up and we talk about content and we make it very, very smooth. And I want you to know that podcasting is so much easier than what you have been led to believe. Now, when I first looked at podcasting, because for me, I decided that podcasting was so important because let's face it, I'm here to change the world, right? If I'm going to change the world, I need people to be hearing my message. And it was a way for me to reach bigger and wider. So when you do podcasting, so for example, the ones I'm going to take you through, it's going to get you onto Spotify. Spotify is probably the most common place for people to go and be looking for podcasts all the time. And it's a way to expand your audience out into the wider world and also overseas. So not just locally. So it really is going to help you to grow. When I looked into podcasting, it's all this secret squirrel stuff, and you need this and you should pay me $10,000 and I'll coach you how to do a podcast. And trust me, I paid all of that money because I wanted to do a podcast and it was just a load of shit. You can set it up on your own, and that's exactly what I'm going to take you through in this course here. I'm going to tell you how to set up a podcast. I'm going to share with you the platforms that I use that don't cost anywhere near as much money as what some of the other platforms do, and I'm going to show you how to do it really easy. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need a professional recording studio, you don't need fancy equipment, you don't need all these big subscriptions, you don't need voiceovers, you don't need any of that stuff. You just need to start, because as with everything else, you just need to drop all the bullshit. Lots of people listen to my podcast and it's not professional at all, because I don't want it to be professional. It doesn't matter. It's the message that matters to me, not the professionalism. Like, I'm never going to be selling my podcast, right? It's not the purpose of it. It's to attract people so that I can coach them to be the bravest, badass, best version of themselves. So it depends on what you want your actual podcast to do, but we're going to go through all of that. In lesson 2, we're going to talk about how to plan your own podcast. In lesson 3, we're going to talk about the 2 ways to look at making content. In lesson 4, we're going to be talking about setting up your podcast, and we're going to use Libsyn and Anchor. There are heaps, but these are the 2 easiest to start with. Then we're going to talk about making podcasting easy, not hard. Then in lesson 6, we're going to talk about getting your podcast out there. So buckle up, baby, and what I want you to do for your homework for this very first lesson of the podcasting course is to think about why you want to podcast and what might stop you. So your journal prompt is, I can't wait for my message to get out there in the world, and I also know ... Okay, have a great time with that lesson prompt, journal prompt, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.